defense. The issue that a while ago I did bring a motion to the House indicating that on a dozen of occasions she did not attend the select committee. May I request that this also be taken up with the leader of government business? Thank you.
Honorable Kalakis. No, order members. Honorable Kalakis, the chairperson made a ruling before lunch, and it would be unfair to subject ministers that are present here to what was happening in the morning. And if you are not satisfied with the ruling that was made by the chairperson, there's a clear process that we have to follow. So can you take your seat so that we can continue? Honorable members, we are starting with question 4.3, asked by Honorable Ntebe to the Minister of International Relations and Cooperation. The Deputy Minister is here. Deputy Minister. Question 403 from Honorable Ntebe.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. The reply to the question is as follows. 1, South Africa remains deeply concerned at Israel's expansion of settlements in East Jerusalem and the West Bank. South Africa also reaffirms the Security Council position that the establishment of settlements by Israel in the Palestinian territory occupied since 1967, including East Jerusalem, has no legal validity and constitutes a flagrant violation of international law and is a major obstacle to the achievement of the two-state solution and a just, lasting, and comprehensive peace. On several occasions, South Africa has called on Israel to abandon all settlement expansion activities, and we have emphasized that a two-state solution process is under increasing threat as a consequence of Israeli settlement activity in the West Bank. The answer to question 2 is as follows. South Africa is firmly opposed to the building of 55,000 new settlements in Amona in the West Bank. In 1994, South Africa adopted the internationally recognized borders agreed to in 1967. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you. Honorable Ntebe.
Thank you so much, Chair. DM, you correctly indicated that this is also in appreciation of the Security Council resolution. Would you concede that this government intention is to continue to argue for the self-determination of the Palestinian people? Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Deputy Minister.
Honorable Chairperson, I thank you, and my response to the Honorable Ntebe is that yes, that is the firm position that the South African government will follow, and that is to fight for the self-determination of the people of Palestine. As you will recall, Chairperson, and as all other honorable members will recall, that the late Nelson Mandela quoted, and he said, and I quote, "Unless and until the people of Palestine are free, we cannot be free." Thank you.
Thank you. I now call upon the Deputy Minister, Honorable Makue.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Deputy Minister, we do know that there is a lot of reluctance from the Israeli authorities to cooperate with the United Nations on the two-state solution. But there are various civil society groups in South Africa, like, for example, boycott, divestments, and sanctions. Can you indicate to us what is our position as a country with regard to the boycotts, divestments, and sanctions of Israeli products and products that are distributed, manufactured in the occupied territories of the West Bank?
Honorable Deputy Minister.
Honorable Chairperson, to the Honorable Makue, South African government's position is that whilst we do have trade relations with the State of Israel, our clear position is also that where products derive from the occupied territories, South Africans should not purchase such products. That is a very clear position that we have, and it is in line with the BDS position as well. Thank you.
Thank you. I now call upon Deputy Minister to respond to question 54 asked by Honorable Chetty.
Honorable Chairperson, I thank you for the opportunity. The answer is as follows, and I quote, South Africa's duties toward foreign nationals that are in the country as per diplomatic agreements, in other words, diplomats, are enshrined in the Geneva Convention on Diplomatic Immunities and Privileges, and we also refer you to the domestic law in this regard, which is the Diplomatic Immunities and Privileges Act. Foreign nationals other than diplomats in South Africa are managed through immigration laws and regulations that are administered by the Department of Home Affairs.
Thank you. Honorable Chetty.
Thank you, Chair. Has the South African government taken responsibility and engaged the Nigerian ambassador to South Africa on the death of a Nigerian national, Mr. Victor Choktuko, at the hands of the South African Police Services? Thank you.
Honorable Deputy Minister.
The short answer to the Honorable Chetty's question is yes, we are in the process of engaging with the Nigerian authorities on that matter.
Honorable Mikalakis.
Thank you, Honourable House Chairperson. Honourable Deputy Minister, has the department itself engaged with the Ministry of Police on this matter? I believe that the Nigerian national was injured and died at the hands of a shooting by the SAPS. This obviously causes a bit of embarrassment for us in the international arena if a foreign national dies at the hands of the South African police. Has your department engaged with the Ministry of Police on this matter?
Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. To the Honorable Michaelides, the death of any person in South Africa by any other person, be it the police or the Honorable Michaelides himself, constitutes the need for an investigation. And because this matter is being investigated by the police, this matter would be in the hands of the police, and as such, in terms of our due process, there would have been an engagement by the Department of International Relations and Cooperation with the police, so that our engagement with the Nigerian authorities would be to be able to clarify such matters.
Honorable Mtimunye.
Thank you, House Chair. House Chair, can I find out from the Minister, in their performance of their diplomatic duties internationally, to what extent does this attack on foreign nationals with borders on being xenophobic in some sense, and the utterances that are made by people such as the Mayor of Johannesburg, Herman Mashaba, on foreign nationals?
Honorable Deputy Minister.
Well, Honorable Chairperson, I really think we need a conversation on the matter raised by the Honorable Mayor Mashaba. We do need a conversation on that matter. Very diplomatically and as a colleague, the Honorable Minister of Home Affairs approached him and appealed to him to desist. Initially, he agreed to do so and stressed that it was never his intention to begin the kind of attacks that we witnessed recently. However, it was disappointing to learn through the media that Mayor Mashaba then proceeded to repeat what he had initially said, calling for all foreign nationals to be kept outside of Johannesburg. So that matter is very disappointing. It makes the work of our diplomats extremely difficult, and it's almost impossible to defend when we engage with our counterparts from other countries, particularly those from the African continent.
Thank you. We now come to question 62 asked by Honorable Vauda, Honorable Deputy Minister.
Honorable Chairperson, thank you. This is probably the most difficult of my 6 questions in this Honorable House. And the reason I say that is because I've not had an opportunity to discuss this matter with the Honorable Minister Nkwana Mashabane. She made the statement that is referred to in the question, and I have the Honorable Vauda's original question before me, which is quite different from what is contained in the question paper, and so I understand exactly what he is alluding to. Now, there is a video link on YouTube that I would invite honorable members to watch, as I have done very carefully. In the video link, Chairperson, through you to the Honorable Vauda, the Honorable Minister Nkwana Mashabane concedes that in congratulating the former Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ethiopia, she was jumping the gun. If you watch the video very carefully to the very end, she makes that statement. It is also important to note that Mr. Tedros Adhanom, who is the former Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ethiopia, is the sole African candidate for the position of Director General for the World Health Organization, and was subsequently endorsed by the entire African Union at the summit. And he will be facing candidates from France, Hungary, and Britain. And as honorable members will be aware, South Africa, being a member state of the African Union, follows the lead, in this case, set by the African Union. So, my honorable minister concedes that she jumped the gun, and perhaps it was inappropriate for her to have said she congratulates Mr. Adhanom for becoming the Director General, because that election will only take place in May. However, one needs to bear in mind the context in which she made the statement to the media. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Vauda.
Yes, thank you very much, Chairperson. Chairperson, the World Health Organization is a very important international organization. I'm not going to assume that the Honorable Minister was au fait to very confidential information, but this may or may not be so. But the fact is that the Honorable Minister has indeed placed the World Health Organization in a very awkward position, but more importantly, the Honorable Minister has placed South Africa in a very difficult position. The question I am asking then of the Honorable Deputy Minister, if he is aware of what damage control has been done by the department to restore the confidence that the World Health Organization will in future have with South Africa and make us party to such confidential information in the future, if this has been so. Thank you, Chairperson.
Honorable Deputy Minister.
Honorable Chair, thank you. In response to the Honorable Vauda, I don't think it's correct to say that South Africa is in a difficult position, nor do I think it's quite correct to say that the World Health Organization is in a difficult position. I say this because the elections for the Director General will only take place in May. And whilst we, as South Africa, are fully behind Mr. Adhanom of Ethiopia, it doesn't preclude other countries and member states of the World Health Organization from supporting those candidates that they prefer to support. The statement by the Honorable Minister Nkwana Mashabane is not the be-all and end-all of the thing. There will be an election, and member states will support the candidate of their choice.
Thank you. Honorable Makua.
Chairperson, it's a bit difficult to do the follow-up question because Deputy Minister Landers indicated that what is here before us. So I will just read what I have as Part B in the document before me, and I quote, how is the regular lapses in the concentration affecting the integrity of the country? Now, my take on that, Mr. Deputy Minister, is that you said very clearly that Minister Mashabane had jumped the gun. And I would like to hear from you whether this can, in fact, be ascribed to a lack in concentration, or is it because of the enthusiasm that she has to appoint a committed African leader? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Honorable Deputy Minister. Order members.
Honorable Chairperson, the Honorable Makua is quite correct. It is a question of enthusiasm on the part of the Honorable Minister Nkwana Mashabane. And I gather, having watched the video where the media was interviewing her, was that she was using the opportunity to canvass support for Mr. Adenon as Director General, and in the process became over-enthusiastic and said what she said.
Thank you. We now come to question number 44, asked by Honorable Mtimunye. Honorable Deputy Minister.
Honorable Chair, thank you very much. The reply to the question is as follows. 1A, the 28th Ordinary Session of the Assembly of the African Union decided to admit the Kingdom of Morocco as a new member state of the African Union in conformity with Article 9C and Article 29 of the Constitutive Act of the African Union. The South African government's position remains steadfast in its support for the right to self-determination and the territorial integrity for the people of the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic. South Africa, with Algeria, Zimbabwe, Angola, Lesotho, Namibia, Mozambique, and Uganda, argued strongly against Morocco's admission. However, 39 member states approved the admission of the Kingdom of Morocco to the AU because there were no longer preconditions as had previously been set by the Kingdom of Morocco. B, having emerged from colonialism and apartheid, the Republic of South Africa remains unwavering in its support for the people of the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic in their quest to achieve the inalienable right to self-determination. These objectives and principles, as espoused by Articles 3 and 4 of the Constitutive Act of the African Union, as well as Article 1, Sub 2 of the United Nations Charter, are fully in support of the right to self-determination by the Sahrawi people. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Mtimunye.
Thank you, House Chair. Deputy Minister, at some point in history, Western Sahara was declared what some people refer to as terra nullius, meaning no man's land, by their former colonial masters, Spain. And the United Nations took a decision that was referred to the International Criminal Court to determine whether such was true or not. And the court came to a conclusion that was not correct, and because Western Sahara had always had people there who are original people of that area. And secondly, the second determination that the court made was that on the claim again of the colonial masters from Spain that Western Sahara had some territorial ties with other countries neighboring it. And to me, there is a legal weapon to African Union or AU for them to force Morocco to withdraw from Western Sahara? And why is that not happening in your view, if the African Union is aware of that?
Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. The Honorable Mtimunya is perfectly correct. There was a time in the history of this particular region when Western Sahara was declared as such. But since then, it's the International Court of Justice that ruled that that was wrong. It also said that there was no ties between Morocco and the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic or Mauritania. And incidentally, we do know that Morocco has designs not just on Mauritania, but also on other neighboring African countries. Now, there are also UN General Assembly resolutions. And the most important one of them being that the UN has never recognized Morocco as the administering power of this territory. Both countries, that is Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic and the Kingdom of Morocco, signed a settlement plan in 1991. It was signed by Polisario and the Kingdom of Morocco. In that settlement, Polisario agreed to a ceasefire, and the Kingdom of Morocco agreed to the proposed referendum. The Kingdom of Morocco has gone back, has reneged on its agreement in the settlement. And so there's a lot that can be said about this particular matter. I do know that, and Mr. Makua, the Honorable Makua, will be aware of this, that the Portfolio Committee in the National Assembly is preparing a panel discussion on this particular matter in the next week or two, and I would invite honorable members to attend because much more will come out of that, and I will also be tabling documents from former President Chisano, who is the AU Special Envoy to this particular matter, as well as from lawyers from Cornell University. And so, Chairperson, thank you.
Thank you, Honorable TM. Honorable Faba. Honorable Faba.
Thank you, Chairperson. Minister, you placed conditions on the readmission of Morocco based on principles, which we actually do believe is right. Your government in the case is concerned with the sovereignty of a country and the occupation thereof by another. However, why do you not show similar principle when dealing with leaders of African states that have committed crimes against humanity?
Honorable TM.
Well, politically, the situation is not the same, and you can't consider it as being the same. South Africa, as a former colony, is radically opposed to any form of colonization. The Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic is effectively a colony of the Kingdom of Morocco, illegally as such. And so you cannot compare what is happening in Western Sahara with any other part of Africa.
Thank you. Honorable Kaula.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Honorable Deputy Minister, I just want to say I do support the position of South Africa in standing with the people who have this quest for their self-determination. It is quite a commendable move. But I'm worried about the inconsistencies. In the case of Sahrawi, South Africa is standing with the people of Sahrawi for their self-determination. In the case of Taiwan, South Africa is not standing with the people of Taiwan for their self-determination. And these are two different areas, but with the same objective. but South Africa seems to be inconsistent in supporting Sarawi this side, but on the other side, not supporting the people of Taiwan for their self-determination. Now, can you clarify that as to how it is happening, that there is this support for self-determination, but on the other hand, it is not supported? Thank you.
Honorable TM.
I thank you, Honorable Chairperson. If the Honorable Kaula will recall our history and the history of China. Firstly, it was former President Nelson Mandela who, before the international media, made the following statement: South Africa agrees with the one China policy. It's an important thing to remember because it will arise in another question that is on your order paper. Secondly, the other important thing to remember is that, like other liberation movements throughout the world, the Polisario Front supported our liberation movements during those very difficult times of apartheid. Unlike others, we never forget. And so the Polisario Front are now engaged in a struggle, and we will support them in their struggle. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me also remind members that a follow-up question must at all times be linked to the original question. That is very important. We now come to question number 56, asked by Honorable Labuskar. Honorable DM. If I can have the equipment, I can jam all the cell phone. Honorable TM.
Honorable Chairperson, my apologies. The reply to the question is as follows. 1, South Africa will support the candidature of Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus of Ethiopia, who was endorsed by the African Union Executive Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Labuskar.
Answered actually in the previous question and said that this candidate has the wholehearted support of the South African group based in the African Union. And then later on in the follow-up question from Honorable Vada that asked, wasn't the minister sort of an embarrassment by sort of pre-posing this question? You said that doesn't mean that the other countries or the other African countries cannot vote for their own candidate. So my question now is, does we then can come to the conclusion that the unity in the African Union is not really that kind of unity, and that we are playing around in our relationship with the other African countries? Thank you.
Honorable TM.
Honorable Chairperson, thank you. My response to the Honorable Labuskachni, but if she had been listening very carefully, my earlier response pointed out that other member states who are part of the World Health Organization, but not necessarily African, were free to support the other 3 candidates who come from Europe. So if Britain wished to support the French candidate, it's free to do so. As South Africa, of course, we will be encouraging Britain to support the African continent. We will also be encouraging the United States to support the African continent. So it has nothing to do with, I think you completely misunderstood what I was trying to say earlier. I was not saying that we are moving away from the unity within the AU, but rather in response to the follow-up question, which was to say we jumped the gun. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable TM, we now come to question 45 asked by Honorable Makuwe.
Honorable Chairperson, the reply is rather lengthy, and with Honorable Makuwe's permission and yours, and the Honorable House, I will table the reply as contained in the document before me, and I will speak to the salient points. Chairperson, firstly, the Cabinet has an approved document called Measures and Guidelines for the Enhanced Coordination of South Africa's International Engagements. The Department of International Relations and Cooperation should therefore be the entry point on all matters relating to international relations when it comes to national, provincial, and local governments, as well as other institutions of state. This document should be read in conjunction with the strengthening of economic diplomacy and the challenges of coordination marketing South Africa abroad. Now, 2 meetings of a consultative forum on international relations are hosted by the Director General of DIRCO every year, and this provides a platform for information sharing and enhancement of coordination between the 3 spheres of government. Furthermore, the 2 deputy ministers in the minister's office embark upon provincial visits with a view to promote better coordination, coherence in the implementation of South Africa's foreign policy. There's a second question from the Honorable Makue, Chairperson, and the reply to that one is as follows. South Africa's foreign policy position towards Taiwan is that Taiwan is viewed as a province of China. South Africa and Taiwan continue with their informal relations through what is called liaison offices located in their respective capitals. No political visits and engagements to and from Taiwan should take place, and relations between the 2 countries are mainly economic, social, cultural, scientific, and trade and investment. South Africa's economic engagement with Taiwan is conducted within a structured mechanism called the Dialogue Forum, and it is chaired by DIRCO at Chief Director level. National, provincial, and local government departments should liaise with DIRCO prior to undertaking international visits for coordination and guidance purposes. However, there was no due consultation with DIRCO from the Mayor of Tshwane's office prior to the Honorable Mayor Simanga's visit to Taipei in December 2016.
Thank you, Honorable Makue.
Thank you, Chairperson. Let me also thank the Deputy Minister for making the bigger document available for proper study. Let me pose a follow-up question just on question 2, which is about the Mayor of Tshwane to Taiwan. Deputy Minister, would it be correct to say that the international relations approach that we have is one that says we are trying to make as many friends as possible for South Africa? And then we have also made use of the expertise of former servants within this democratic state, like, for example, the Deputy Minister Aziz Pahad, as well as our Minister Zola Skweyiya, so that we make sure that in our international engagements, we always put South Africa first. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable DM.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. The Honorable Makua is perfectly correct. I want to also take the matter a little further and refer you, Chairperson and Honorable Members, to Chapter 3, Article 41 of our Constitution, which compels us to cooperate with one another. It speaks about cooperative government and intergovernmental relations, so that all spheres of government should preserve the peace, national unity, and indivisibility of the Republic. So when we undertake these visits, without the necessary coordination of DIRCO, who is responsible for this mandate, then it creates all manner of problems, and we are bound to lose the friends that the Honorable Makua refers to. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Engelbrecht.
Mr. Chair, thank you. I find this discussion regarding the mayor of Tshwane very interesting, especially in the scenario where in 2014, the Minister Rob Davis visited Taiwan and there was absolutely no scene made about it and no discussion regarding his visit. And yet, when the mayor of Tshwane goes to visit Taiwan to stimulate investment and jobs, because that is what he believes in, that party politics should be transcended by need to create investment. And I think it's a huge tragedy when this government goes against a mayor who's intent on developing investment, stimulating jobs. And so my question is that how can the ANC government land-based and be hypocritical, thank you so much, because the mayor of Tshwane who's going out to create jobs, and yet the Minister Rob Davis goes in 2014 and no word gets said about that. And we're a country where we have to develop, create jobs. There are 20 million people unemployed, and yet we are hypocritical in our statements against the mayor of Tshwane. So if I could just get a reply on that, please.
Honorable Deputy Minister.
Honorable Chairperson, thank you. To the Honorable Member, there's nothing hypocritical about it. My colleague sitting next to me and the Honorable Deputy Minister sitting immediately behind me will confirm this. Any international visit undertaken by either a minister or deputy minister has to obtain the approval of the head of state. In all such visits, we write a formal letter to our president informing him of our intentions, and he either disapproves or approves such a visit. So therefore, in the case of the Honorable Minister Davies, such permission would have been sought and granted. We also don't know what the purpose of Minister Davies' visit was. I'm certainly unaware. I gather my colleague here is probably aware. But you see, the difference between the Honorable Minister Davies and the Honorable Mayor Msimanga is that Minister Davies obtained permission from his boss, the President. Mayor Msimanga got permission from nobody. Not even
Honorable members.
Not even from
Honorable
Pastor
GM.
Maimane.
Thank you, Honorable Faba.
Yes.
Cont.
Thank you, Chair. Perhaps they should also look at Saltplaatjie municipality in Kimberley, where they also visit countries without anything. But I will not go into that. Let me stay with my question. How does your government's foreign policy tie in with the fact that Taipei, Kaohsiung, and Tainan remain sister cities to the biggest cities in South Africa, and their liaison offices are funded by the South African government?
Honorable Deputy Minister.
Well, I think the answer to the Honourable Member Faber's question lies in my initial reply, which is that Taiwan has a liaison office, and therefore it is through that particular mechanism that these three cities have what is contained in the Honourable Member's question.
Thank you. Honorable Mtimunye.
So, Honorable Chair, a conclusion can be made. This Msimbango fellow has breached the Constitution. Deputy Minister, is it not time we regulated this environment once and for all so that we deal with this over-ambitiousness of the shadow ministers and shadow everything of the Democratic Alliance now?
Order, members. Honorable Deputy Minister.
Well, now I'm going to appeal to honourable members of the ANC to be a little circumspect, because, you know, when it comes down to both provincial and local government, many of our own colleagues at those spheres of government are also guilty. So, no, wait. hear me out, please.
Order, members. Let's hear the
Hear me
DM.
out. One of the biggest challenges we face, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable members, is complaints from countries who have good relations with South Africa. You have a portfolio committee, you have a committee of the provincial legislature, and you have a delegation from the local metro, all converging on one country, one city in the same week. Now, it is why Honorable Minister Nkwana Mashabane has tasked both me and Deputy DM Feketo with the job of engaging with the provinces and the senior mayors in those provinces so that we get an understanding of how we go about these things. The difficulty lies in the fact that all these delegations go to these countries all to study the exact same thing. So Chairperson, I'm using this opportunity to make an appeal to all honorable members in this House. We all belong to provinces, we all belong to local authorities, and somehow in our engagements at those levels, try and put across to them the importance for the coordination that we are appealing for. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me remind members that at most we can have 4 follow-up questions, and that one of Mtimunye was the 4th one. No, was the 4th one. The first one was Makuwe, the second one was Engelbrecht, was Mtimunye, was Faber. So 4 follow-up. Let me take this opportunity to thank the Deputy Minister of International Relations and Cooperation. Okay, Honorable Julius.
Thank you, House Chair. The question was not answered by the Honorable Mtimunya from the ANC, whether it is constitutional.
No,
We
Honorable
wanted to know what the
Julius.
Constitution says
Honorable Julius.
and how are we going to get it right to stop them.
Honorable Julius, that is not even a point of order. Don't even get to that space. Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister. We now come to the Minister of State Security. The first question is from Honorable Wana. Honorable Minister, question number 46.
Honorable Chairperson of the session, our Chairperson of the NCOP, Honorable Deputy Ministers for DECO and State Security Comrade Ellen Mulekani, the honorable members of this august house, the NCOP. The ANC government considers education as one of its apex priorities, and it has done a lot to improve both access and quality of education. No government in this country has allocated resources as much as we have done. Government has provided a comprehensive response to genuine concern of academic exclusion on the basis of affordability. His Excellency, our President Zuma, outlined this approach and measures that have been put in place to ensure that no deserving and qualifying students will be excluded as per the ANC policy. The security cluster believes that there should be no basis for any violent protest in the institutions of higher learning, and that all stakeholders will continue on the engagement that is necessary to ensure the achievement of long-term goals associated with free quality higher education for the poor, including the work that is looking at the modalities of implementing the ANC policy on higher education. As the ANC government will continue to do more progressively to attain the ideal providing of a free and quality education to the poor. As a security cluster, we continue to participate on an interministerial committee established by the President, led by the Minister in the President's Honorable Hadebe, on the stabilization of higher education. The IMC is working closely with other stakeholders in this sector, and plans are indeed in place for any eventuality. I thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Wana.
Thank you, Chairperson. Let me thank the Minister of giving me this answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Honorable Kaula.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Honorable Wana has asked a very important question, Honorable Chairperson. I just want to find out from the Honorable Minister. It seems the country, especially the security forces of the country, we are very reactionary. Now, Honorable Wana wanted to find out if we are able to preempt. It has happened in a number of instances in 2016 where schools were burnt in Wuhan. We were reactionary. The security agents of the country were not able to detect that a disaster was about to happen. With the fees must fall, we again were very reactionary. Now, how does it work, Honorable Minister? Are we actually sipephile kodwa baba? Umakhamba kanje. Where every time our security agents are following the instances after they have happened, even instances that you can refer to as a crisis, we go after they have happened. We don't have instances where we stop them before they happen. Are we really safe in the country? Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
Well, thank you very much, Honorable Chair of the session, and thanks to Honorable Kaul. We need to find time and space that those of us who are given the responsibility to lead and tell no lies and don't claim easy victories and don't mask any difficulties. In most instances, our country is faced with a number of challenges. And those of us in leadership, when it suits us, we want to apportion blame. In many instances, the blame is apportioned to the security cluster, and some people even using a narrative called securitization. While in reality, we're dealing with an issue around how governance is happening and leadership in various areas. Before the problems become a security issue, there is a leadership failure at a particular level, or the inability of citizens to understand that no matter how difficult our challenges are, let's place them on the table, discuss them. And in most instances, when we fail to provide leadership and have no kind of patience to engage with each other, normally people resort to actually demonstration. When they demonstrate, they start to use violence. And then the next thing, we have leaders who start to say, where are the police? Where was the intelligence? This is a problem we don't want to confront, that we are like a security state. When we're actually not building that there should be peace and friendship, always there when there's a conflict, let's discuss it. The other issue is our ability to tell the truth. When you pick up an intelligence that so-and-so is going to do 1, 2, 3, what do? We chose a path of a constitutional democracy. If someone has not committed crime, why should we be harassing them? That's not how we work. And when there is a problem, we pass the information to others. We don't actually arrest people. We pass information to other agencies, firstly to those who are supposed to solve the problem, who are leaders. And they don't rise to the responsibility of leadership. People run away. When they run away, what do? People, they get into the street. Well, there is always a challenge that we have always seen, even during difficult time. Sometimes you will have law enforcement officers that are from that particular community. Because of the level of intimidation and so forth, you find that law enforcement agencies, they don't act on that information of intelligence. normally you end up actually have to bring other law enforcement agencies from other areas, which are not part of that community, and we're not addressing those issues. Therefore, when we speak to our people, let's tell them to say, what challenge are we dealing with? All the time, there is always intelligence information. But should we be harassing people? That's not the democracy and the path we choose. When our police officers are from the locals there, they are scared of their locals, or they are actually having empathy with the plight of those particular people. That's the difficulty of some of the issues we need to do. That's why you talk about rotation. But how can you rotate police people when they're actually earning peanuts to go to stay in other areas? I've heard this discussion, Honorable Chair, and I think we need to set the record straight. I thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Mikalakis.
Thank you, Honorable House Chairperson. Honorable Minister, would you not agree that perhaps part of the security risk and the problem is the fact that the state president has not yet, on his side, actually made a big enough effort to engage these students? And I'm not talking about a quick 10-minute speech and then leaving your Minister of Higher Education to answer the uncomfortable questions. I'm not talking about a meeting at the union buildings with a small Nyana group of selected student leaders. I'm actually talking about seriously engaging and showing some leadership. Is that not part of the reason why we sit with this security risk? Thank you.
Honorable Minister, other members.
No, thank you very much, Honorable Chair of the session. I think you are also missing the point. Our ability, those of us who lead, must be able to go to what are we dealing with. The question of leadership is not about His Excellency President Zuma. All of us who are leaders in our own rights. Before the problem actually become a problem that the President must actually intervene, higher education is an institution on its own. Those universities, they are having vice-chancellors. Those institutions are having councils, they are having senates that have a responsibility to engage. One of the things that we actually normally don't, we like to politicize them for the fun of politicization. Who makes decisions about fees? These decisions are made by universities themselves. You gave them the autonomy to make these decisions. And in most of the instances that are there, fortunately, I was a member of council for more than 11 years. I also led students. If university leadership does not engage on the matters of fees, and then they make as if it's a problem of government, and as a society, we don't raise that there is an issue here about a leadership failure in universities. When universities, they choose not to transform, we don't want to hold them accountable. We want to hold government. But because this ANC government, it cares, through the Minister of Higher Education, now supported by the Interministerial Committee, because we're a government of South Africa as a whole. We're in that space, we're assisting them. That's why the legislative instrument that the President signed into law early this year is trying to address some of these issues. But it will be incorrect and disingenuous to try to blame a president who has prioritized through the ANC education as an apex priority because he understood through his own personal experience that for any nation to prosper, education is the way to go. The work the president has done and delegated to us, those of us who are having the responsibility, we dare not fail our children. But those that we pay through the taxpayers' money that gets given to the universities, they too should play their part to lead. Ngiyabonga sihlalo.
Thank you. Honorable Mokwele. Honorable Mokwele.
Ke a leboga modula stilo. Ke maikarabelo a puso go netefatsa gore thuto ke ya mahala mo bantshong le the community that is in need. Minister, you must make sure that education is for free for all. Nevertheless, it was not the question that was in me. My question is, Honorable Minister, You once invited the leader of Fees Must Fall, Mr. Dlamini, into your house. What were your intention in that? Were you trying to prevent, did you try to prevent and make sure that the institution are secured, or you have your own intention in terms of inviting Mr. Dlamini into your house?
Honorable Minister.
Honorable Chair, thank you very much. On your passing remark around education, in terms of free education, let's admit that the ANC has been a pioneer, and it has chosen the path to respond to a national question. Our policies are not ambiguous, and progressively we are going there to realize our policy objective, despite the distractors and the noise that they are trying to make around this particular issue. And South Africans, even some of us who are here today as leaders in this country, we are beneficiaries of the ANC policy. We went through this. Our parents could not afford. And they have given us that particular opportunity. Secondly, on the matter that is being raised, one of the issues, Chair, you have an honorable member who wants to be listened when you ask a question. And this appetite of not being able to be agitated, it doesn't help. Well, the issue around a student leader called Mcebo is a matter that EFF chose deliberately to mislead the society. Chairperson,
Order, members.
The matter, I'm not going to go to the merits, but the truth, Chairperson, it will come out where people deliberately, because of their own political leverage they want to achieve, they chose to use.
Honorable members, Honorable Mukwele. Order. Honorable Minister, Honorable Mukwele. Honorable members, if we ask a question, let's allow the Honorable Minister to respond to the question. And if we are going to be disturbing the process, then there's going to be a problem. Can you take your seat, Honorable Mukwele? Yeah. No, let me preside. Honorable Mukwele. Why are you, Honorable Mukwele?
Yes.
I will invite you to make whatever that you want to make. Let's allow the minister to conclude.
But he must not. He must
No.
answer me as a
Honorable
member of
Kweli.
this house, not EFF. Answer me.
Chairperson.
Honorable members, let's allow the minister to respond.
Chairperson,
Continue.
you know, if you tell the truth, there are systems they want to continue a narrative that will not assist. I'm saying for record for the House, for a particular reason, that is politically, someone chose, when I responded to the National Assembly, and in a particular platform, they chose to cut a certain clip and managed to hide the information from South Africans. But through the process they've chosen and through our democratic dispensation, we're dealing with the matter through the public protector, nothing to hide. And the National Assembly chair is also dealing with the matter in terms of the complaint they've made. But because it's a political matter, it's not even an ethics matter, they will be exposed. the short legs they have. The last issue, Comrade Chair, Honorable Chair, when it comes to Mr. Dlamini, I wish you good luck. We have tried to recruit him. He is a member of the ANC and is not actually going to come to you. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Honorable Harting.
Honorable Chair, thank you. And Honorable Chair, I thank you. I would also like to thank
Honorable members. Sorry, Honorable Harting. Honorable members, we can't do what you are doing. Can you continue, Honorable Harting?
Honorable Chair, I would like to thank the Minister for coming out strongly for the truth and putting such an emphasis on it. And also seeing that in the context of his specific opinion about fake news and scams, which hit the headlines the past few days. Also with obviously some other threats which I will not go into. But there are also then, in the context of the student unrest, there are also utterances linked to the Honourable Minister, linking unnamed foreign intelligence agencies working with negative domestic forces to undermine the state and achieve regime change. I would like also just to put that in context, something that was said 23 years ago on the same premises, also by a president who was then under pressure. He said, "The tragedy is that hostile pressure and agitation from abroad have acted as an encouragement to militant revolutionaries in South Africa." Now, in that context, and this is the minister's playing grounds, security, I would like to know whether he believes, in the context of his own words, that these unnamed foreign agencies are playing a role in our student unrest. Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
Thanks, Chair. Probably, if we need a debate, we need to, rather than to infer. When we speak, sometimes probably it depends where you come from. Unfortunately, I was not there 23 years ago. I was working for the organization in other capacities. I don't remember that speech of 23 years ago. Well, I don't know. Unfortunately, it's not my uncle. I don't know. Maybe if you had a discussion at home with him or relatives, let me not respond to issues of a government that was not representing us. But let's answer your question, because there are those people who think that when we speak from a position of not being informed. We responded and were unapologetic. This ANC government, when we stopped to be a pariah state, we chose a path around our international policy. There will be peace, there will be friendship, and understood clearly the role of multilateralism that must work. That's why we're part of this institution, whether it's SADC, whether it's AU, whether is it the United Nations, and the other bodies we join. But those of us who actually have an ideological nexus, like the ANC, we do the balance of forces, the world we live in. And when we have done the balance of forces, we understand that the world, as it looks today, is more unstable like yesterday. There are a number of challenges. One of the things that the institution of multilateralism, they are actually being undermined. And there are a number of institutions and countries that does unilateralism. That's why we call for the reform of the United Nations Security Council, including the Bretton Woods institutions, unapologetic, because we have an ideological perspective. We have also seen here that countries, in terms of international relations, were supposed to be trading as equals. But there are those countries, in terms of their national interest and national security, they want to exert influence on countries in one way or the other. Other countries are very matured, they respect the win-win. But others, not apologetic, they do use state and non-state actors. You have seen regime change happening in Tunis, happening in Egypt, happening in Libya. Who actually did that? Does it mean that it's not going to happen in South Africa? It will. The rise of terrorism, where people are actually using caliphate, taking land, selling oil and other issues, where do they get these best weapons? But for regime change to happen, in South Africa will not allow it to happen unconstitutional. We have chosen, as the Freedom Charter has said, we have chosen universal suffrage. No government can claim authority unless it is based on the will of the people, by the people. And you can't replace government. You can't replace government outside the constitutional means. And it has happened where unconstitutional means are being made. And for it to happen, you will have to have collaborators. There are South Africans, and I'm on record, they collaborate either wittingly or unwittingly. Those South Africans who are collaborating unknowingly, we must be able to raise these issues so that they too, they don't become part of subversion, they don't become part of espionage, they don't actually part of those who are undermining our national security. Those who are raising noise, what are you fearing that we are raising this issue? For this thing to happen, you must be able to agitate people on issues that resonate with our people. Education is one of that issue. It's a genuine issue, and a matter that should be uniting us as South Africans. We make it a political football, and there are other issues we lose. When you have time, join those when the ANC starts to discuss policy documents. We will engage. But we are an organization that knows what are the balance of forces, who are the motive forces who are supporting our revolution towards the National Democratic Society. Our duty is to ensure that we build this united South Africa that we envisaged in 1912, reconfirmed it in 1955. We reconfirmed it through the Harare Declaration and Vision 2030 in our own constitution. But there are no threats that we are not going to be able to raise so that our people understand. To try to equate the ANC government with the government of the nuts is very cheap. And you try to hide the issues that we are dealing with them today. We are going to proceed on our path to that National Democratic Society. Our road is not going to be easy. It's going to be arduous. There will be those who are opposed to the change. And South Africans must know them so that they are prepared when we move through this change.
Thank you. Honorable Minister, we now come to question 52, asked by the Honorable Julius.
Honorable Chairperson of the session, once again, thank you. The matter raised by the Honorable Member, as he is aware, is currently the subject of a parliamentary ad hoc committee on the suitability of the SABC board. As such, it will be inappropriate for me to go into the merits of this matter before this August House. As we speak now, the National Assembly is deliberating on the matter, and any issue that is referred to us there, we will have to be having an opportunity to deal with that particular matter. And we have no apology, Chair. We will continue to do our work without any fear or favor to secure the state entities, including the SABC. But until we receive the report and the insinuation that were being made, we'll be able then to respond in full. What is our cause of the next action. Thank you.
Honorable members, without suppressing anything in this very same question, because I understood the response to be saying a report is being tabled in Parliament. It means it will give us to be able to do justice to this very same question after going through the report. But be that as it may, I'll give you Honorable Julius. I don't know what will be that.
Yes, Chairperson, I note that questions, are not answered properly today by all ministers. Maybe it has to do with the President's advice yesterday that ministers should not answer questions. And we are going to an apartheid state now. We are back. I have to tell you, Minister, you are going back to that apartheid style of saying this matters are not for here, this matters are not for there. Whilst, Chairperson, Deputy Chair, just give me the opportunity to finish. You can't see me with the hand, Chair.
Julius.
You know what?
Let me assist.
The State Security Agency is not implicated there. When they are called, they can do that. But now my question stands. Are you implicated in the report as yet? No. And if you are not, you have to answer my question. Only if you are implicated, then you can say that there's, or do you think that you will be called? You feel so guilty that you will be called?
Honorable Julius.
It's just a matter of...
Let me assist you. The other House of Parliament called National Assembly established an ad hoc committee to deal with what was happening with SAPC. As we're sitting here today, there's a committee that is being presented there. When the minister was responding to this very same question, he said it will be not appropriate to get to the details of it without getting to the report.
But
So
he's not implicated yet. He's not
We don't
implicated.
have that.
I don't understand. What's the
Okay,
argument?
can you ask your follow-up question?
Yes. Yes. I'll
No,
ask
I'm
my
dealing with
follow-up
Honorable
question.
Julius.
I want to know whether the
Point of
State
order on who?
Security Agency...
Honorable Julius, sorry. Honorable Labuskaghne is raising a
Chairperson,
point of order.
I'm very confused. Are you the Deputy Minister or are you the Chair? Because you can make a rule from the Chair, but you cannot answer a question.
No, I'm making a
posed by-
ruling.
But you answered the question. You
No, I'm
told
making
him-
a ruling.
No. Chair, you didn't make a ruling. You gave
Let me
the
repeat my
member a
ruling.
question. That is unparliamentary.
Let me make...
You told the member about a committee. You answered a question.
Let me make my ruling.
So
that-
can you
let me
please
repeat
take
my
that ruling back? Can you please make a ruling and not answer the question?
Honorable Julius, honorable members, the ruling is that the other house is getting to the detail of the report of the ad hoc committee that was established by the other house. So for us to be able to do justice to this question, it will be very appropriate for us to have a second bite at a later stage after going through the report. That is my ruling.
Chair, on a point of order. If that is so, Chair, why did the Secretary of this House 2 weeks ago allowed this question on this order paper? Get your house in order.
Honorable Labuskaghne, order members, it's not a problem, I'll deal with it. Honorable members, I'm not going to subject myself to why this never done that. I've made a ruling, and if ever you have a problem with the ruling that I've made, there's an appropriate way of addressing the ruling. Let's now go to question number...
I'm not against your ruling. I'm not against your ruling. You made two rulings. You just made two rulings. You said afterwards, you said, okay, go ahead, ask your follow-up question. I was busy asking my follow-up question, and now you're making a new ruling. You are clearly protecting the minister from answering the question. The minister's not implicated at the other house. Ask the minister, was he called to the other house? No. So he will use that excuse when he's called
Honorable
to
Julius,
that house.
the first thing, we are not even recognized.
Why are you protecting?
Can you take your seat?
Why are you protecting the minister?
Can you take your seat?
You are just like the apartheid government.
Honorable Minister, let's come to question number 47 asked by Honorable Mhlanga.
Thank you very much, Chairperson of the session.
Sorry, Honorable Minister, let me take the point of order. Honorable Isaac.
Chairperson, with due respect and for the decorum of the House, you asked the honourable member to stand up and give his follow-up question. You politely now shut him down and come with another ruling. For the sake of democracy and transparency,
Honorable Isaac,
allow him to ask his follow-up question. That is all. I mean, after all, we're all representing South
Honorable
Africans
Isaac,
here, you know.
Honorable Isaac, you ask a follow-up question on a response. Can you take your seat? Can you take your seat? Can you continue, Honorable Minister? We're dealing with question number 47.
Honorable Chairperson of the House, of the session, I mean, thank you. On question number 47 that has been asked by the Honorable Member, Comrade Mhlanga, a number of lessons can be drawn from the unfortunate incident in Vuwani. One, the management of demarcations process and demarcation-related issues in our country remains part of emotive issues since when we started these boundaries, which, if not handled properly, can become a security issue. Number two, the capacity of relevant authorities and leaders, despite challenges, the ability to continuously engage with affected parties and don't tire to engage. Number three, the right to protest, as enshrined in our Constitution, which is one of the hard-fought rights and liberties, can be undermined by the conduct of other people. Four, the failure by authorities to act on early warning information by intelligence to be able to deal with the situation. Lastly, number five, lack of adequate consequences for those involved in destruction of property and disrupting the right to land of other citizens. The last point, other tipping points on demarcation that our security services must remain seized with in terms of going forward, because there are other issues that are still there around demarcation. Our role as intelligence services is to collect and pass on intelligence to our colleagues, whether in security cluster or in leadership, and we expect to be acted upon. We don't therefore announce or declare public the work that we have done, as others they have chosen, not understanding the value chain, to say where was intelligence. In a democratic dispensation such as ours, we operate within the provision of legislation and cannot act willy-nilly on the basis of intelligence we've collected. Therefore, honorable members, it is important to underscore the fact that security agencies, they did their best to ensure that successful elections that happened in Vuwani, the right of universal suffrage, was actually practiced by those communities, in as much as the voter turnout was low. Equally, those that were brought to book, it was intelligence-driven operations. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Honorable Mhlanga.
No, thanks, Chair. And let's welcome the response from the Honorable Minister. Chair, although I would like to know whether does the institution, the state security, have enough human capacity to combat such? And what are measures put in place in regard to foreigners that are found in such activities, fueling such activities to take place? Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Minister.
Well, thank you very much, Honorable Chair, and thanks for the follow-up from Honorable Mhlang. With respect to the capacity of the security forces, well, it's always a difficult matter to respond because in as much as I must respond here, from an intelligence tradecraft, I will not be able to do that because our enemies, they will be able to measure our strength. That's how the tradecraft works, unless you are not from it. Secondly, that's why we don't even disclose our budget. But there are those of us in leadership who don't understand what national security means. Immediately to disclose your workforce, your budget, your detractors, and the enemies of your state, they will have the ability to do that. But the last part, which is the involvement of foreigners, those of us in leadership, we must always send a message that South Africa, and in terms of our ideological outlook, these borders were not made by us. They were made by colonizers. We don't want to see any person through an eye, whether we are national or non-national. As long as you commit crime within the territorial integrity called South Africa, irrespective of your nationality, irrespective of your belief, whether your gender and so forth, crime is crime. And it must be dealt as such without any fear, favor, or prejudice. And South Africans have always understood that we are not xenophobic. Because even if you look at the Southern Africa, we're one people. We're one people. We share everything. We share borders, we share families, we share culture, traditions, and values, including those who are working here in our country. They've been working here for centuries. Therefore, the question of foreigner sentiment and so forth, we don't use that eye. The only thing that we will do, we will keep an eye as long as you started to actually use certain agencies or structures like state and non-state actors, you become part of our radar. Because if you want to do funny things and undermine our sovereignty and territorial integrity and want to harm our people in terms of national interest and national security, we will place you under the radar. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Makwebo.
Thank you very much, Deputy Chair, and thank you, Minister, for your response. But be that as it may, I'm worried about your response because in your response you mentioned that amongst the lessons learned from the Vuwani uprisings, lesson number 4, this is what you've just said a minute ago, and I want to quote it. And I quote, lesson number 4 was, I quote, failure by authorities to act on information from intelligence, close quote. Now here is my question. If you admit in this House that there's been a failure by the authorities to act on the information from your desk as the Minister of Intelligence, now the question is, that failure has costed this country, so there has to be consequences. Now I want to know, what have you done to ensure that those that have failed to act on the information you have given them, what has been taken as an action against them to hold them accountable? And if so, why? Have you raised that information? Have you named and shamed those authorities and reported them to say, I have shared this information, nevertheless, and having shared it, they have never acted on it? That is my question. What has been done by that failure that you have admitted?
Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair of the session. Well, we should not choose an easy path. When the main thrust of the question was asked, it was asked in an essence to say, what can we learn? I'm not here on a blame game and want to take glory that we've done our part, others have failed. We're honestly saying there are challenges in our country. And as citizens and leaders more, we have more added responsibility. We have said one of the issues before a matter becomes a security matter, it becomes a governance issue. And demarcation, you as members of legislature, we are quite aware, is a matter that is not easy. Where in terms of our doctrine and indoctrination, people believe that, you know what, if you stay because where we come from, if really you move a particular border to another thing, they think really you are taking them out of this country. And these are some of the issues that actually have caused wars. Is this how we want to lead? The issue that we are raising them, we are saying the manner how we coordinate our issues, the manner how we respond, all of us, whether it's government, whether it's the communities themselves, including other people that must be able to assist to deal with the issues. There's been a fail. But what we're also dismissing is this narrative where we don't empower ourselves and understand how does each sector works. When you collect intelligence, what happens? Who gets into the value chain? And who gets into the value chain until there is a prosecution? Before you actually get into law enforcement, what's happening there? That's the information that we're trying to communicate. Therefore, to try to use and abuse point number 4, my appeal is that you need to disabuse yourself of actually coming to that point. Because we're sharing to say, collectively, when we go out there, how do we actually, all of us, irrespective of our narrow political ideologies and interest, South Africa is more important than all of us. And therefore, let's not use politics to actually affect the dream that we wanted to build this nation. And in building this nation, it's all of us to rise and do what is right. Ngiyabonga Sihlalo.
Thank you. Honorable Mikalakis.
Thank you, Honourable House Chairperson. Honourable Minister, taking into account your replies, I'm starting to wonder whether you are the reason why they refrained from using the word intelligence and rather opted to call it state security. But be that as it may, the question is, why does it take 20 schools, Minister, before we learn the lesson? Why do 20 schools have to burn down before we learn those basic lessons? Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
Chairperson, thank you. Probably the honorable member, when he finds time, he should be able to trace his steps well. I was not in cabinet when there was a reconfiguration to name the department where the president has appointed me to. But to deal with the issue that he has raised, the issue that you have raised, we have responded to this issue. Government has condemned and actually understood the devastating impact that the actions of our citizens. Because one thing that is so very interesting, Chair, is to try to apportion blame to government. When government has responded and spoken to citizens to say this kind of a behavior, irrespective how the grievance might be genuine, it has taken the government backwards and the people there. That's why some of us, when we're debating the matter in the National Assembly, after we're on the ground, working side by side with our people, we're able to respond, where children were saying, but why elders are destroying our future? The reality why do we want to keep there on the agenda and try to make it news is because there are those who claim to care for our people. Ours is to score a political point, and I'm not going to be assisting you to score a political point. We condemn that action, we've acted, and our duty is South Africans to play their part that any destruction of property cannot be tolerated. That's why legislators, when we are calling for the review of some of the legislation, so that we can send a message that certain actions and crimes they will never be tolerated to exist side by side with our communities. Thanks, Sihlalo.
Thank you. Honorable Ntebe.
Thank you, Minister. It's amazing listening to honorable members when you tell them about the budget. Some of them can't even disclose their organizational financial statements. Yet they want you to disclose your budget as intelligence. But one of the things that, according to my understanding, and you went at length explaining this, but according to me, and I'm not schooled in your department, but the best security is your people on the ground, residing in the same localities that problems are experienced. In the integrated and coordinated plan that you want to come up with, are we seeking to make sure that our people are also, who are located in such localities, part of the stakeholders so that we can be able to tap into information that they have and be able to be responsive on time as intelligence? Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Minister.
No, thank you very much. We must welcome the appreciation that for us to be able to discharge the constitutional mandate, it will never succeed unless our people are involved. That's why if we have had an opportunity to read the budget statements we make all the time, whenever I conclude, I always use my vernacular language, my mother language, and say, Nawe ulipois. Trying to send a message that South Africans is our responsibility too, to play our part. That's why on issues that affect South Africans in terms of security, we raise these issues. We go a part of the security cluster, we do imbizos, and we're actually even working with the local government system. Remember, intelligence is also about building risk management system for the country. Be able to help municipalities, help provinces, but also help various departments. So that on the basis of the information that you actually collect overtly, you can be able to analyze it and be able to develop an early warning system that if there is a service delivery failure, let's say a tap is not working, you don't attend a tap within 24 hours, 48 hours, people are going to start to actually being there around. And if a councillor does not respond, then they will get into the street. It's not that there was no intelligence, but it was a failure of a council, or the municipality has no money to fix the pothole on time, and then people get there. And the relationship with our people strengthening all the time, and I believe with 55 million intelligence officers, we believe we're 55 million law enforcement officers. They too have a responsibility to play. We want to thank you that so that they must be able to report, and they continue to report. They volunteer the information. On the basis of the information, we have been able to counter a number of things that could have actually been in a position to hurt our country. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Minister, we now come to question number 61, asked by Honorable Koni. In terms of the rules, I've been informed that Honorable Vauda will be standing in for Honorable Koni. Honorable Minister.
Honorable Chair, thank you. Honorable Member, the question is better placed if responded by my colleague in Cabinet. Were the Minister of Police here earlier in your earlier session, under the two institutions referred, are under his jurisdiction. However, it is important to know that government deals on a continuous basis with the integrity of its officials through, amongst others, vetting, rotation of personnel, and we are considering, as guided by our movement, the introduction of lifestyle audits, as well as awareness campaigns conducted from time to time. Any conduct by those in the system that is contrary to our laws, rules, and regulation is dealt with through the checks and balances of which our constitutional framework has created for oversight and accountability. Ngiyabonga, Sihlalo.
Thank you. Honorable Vauda.
Thank you very much indeed, Chairperson. Let's get the issue of the misplacement of the question in perspective. The question is that, yes, the SEPs, etc., have been infiltrated. But the question is, what threat is this to state security? That is the first part. And the second part is that where there is threat to state security, what is the state security doing to ensure, to deal with these threats? And as a follow-up to that, if we could also add what exactly is being done to ensure that this infiltration does not take place in the first instance. And if I could also add, okay, I'll go on.
Honorable Vauda.
Thank you.
We are doing a follow-up question, not follow-up questions. Honorable Minister.
Chairperson, like I said, the honorable member knows that if you are going to be brought, we are speaking about SAPS, we are speaking about the directorate. You could have asked Minister of Police. And I don't want to come and debate. It's a new motion. You can actually make it, you want to make it substantive. If you speak about infiltration, what is it? Infiltration, Chair, those of us who are actually doing infiltration and other penetration, we know it's part of our work. That's why I'm speaking about integrity. I'm responding to your question. That if someone is being infiltrated, it means you're an agent. You're either doing espionage, you are working for someone else. In other words, you are doing subversion. Then what do? This government has mechanism to deal with the integrity of its officers. But let's not actually try to give credence on an allegation that is not substantiated, to try to create an impression that our forces are infiltrated. And if there can be any attempt to infiltrate it, we have the capacity to see it. And we'll catch them. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Kaula.
Hey, ngiyathokoza sihlalo uyangithusa minister. Yiloko siqalile nje uyangithusa nje. Usungithuse ungiqedile. Now let's talk infiltration. To what extent are our political parties infiltrated by you? It's a question.
Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, Honorable Kaola, as a member of this August House, if Honorable Kaula, as a person who makes laws and created through our own legislation the check and balances, if we have evidence that we're infiltrating you in doing our work, please use the check and balances. I'm told the process that Parliament concluded IG, which is a very good platform. Then there's a committee that some honorable members from this house, they sit in the committee where I account. You can go to them. But if you don't trust those checks and balances you created, you have the recourse in terms of the judiciary. Let's not try to create a ghost that does not exist. You know, I laugh on the funny thing that people think we listen to them. We use the law, but probably on a lighter note, what are people scared of? What are you hiding?
Thank you. Honorable Minister, we now come to question number 49, asked by Honorable Mohapi. That is the last question to you from
Honorable Chairperson of the session, once again, thank you. And thank Honorable Member, Comrade Mohapi. Chairperson,
Honorable members, order. Honorable Mokwele, can you take your seat so that I address the issue, especially your remark before you stood up. Honorable Mokwele, Honorable Mokwele,
Honorable Chair.
Honorable order. Let honorable members, as I'm presiding in this session, when the minister was very recently dealing with Honorable Vauda, he started by doing the very same thing. Can you continue, Honorable Minister? Order, members.
Honorable Chair, I acknowledge the member retrospectively. then he should settle the matter. But it's warm in our home. In terms of section 2, subsection 1A of the National Strategic Intelligence Act 39 of 1994 as amended, the function of the State Security Agency are together correlate, evaluate, analyze domestic intelligence in order to identify any threats or potential threats to the security of the Republic of its people and supply intelligence. And regarding such, and we collate it in terms of our National Intelligence Coordinating Council, which is NICOC. In line with these functions, the State Security Agency continuously monitor violent and disruptive actions as they manifest itself in terms of our national intelligence estimate and our national security assessment. That will include actions of state and non-state actors that will result in violence, protest, destruction of property, including disruption of other societal activities, especially around education. And the nice thing, the leadership of students, Honorable Chair of the session, they even said, you know what, Minister, let's talk. Let's share information. There are those people who come to us during the day. They look like a sheep, but at night they change. And that's why we agree. The last question that was asked, the last comment, Chair, where, Chair, we said that the involvement of our people in our work is very important. And we do sectoral work in this case. Our cluster established the National Joint Operations and Intelligence Structure, which is NetJoints, to respond expeditiously to any situation of instability in our country. We work within that particular body and then within the body of the security cluster. We do not collaborate with security companies operating at universities, as such companies are contracted by universities themselves at their own discretion due to the university's autonomous nature or existence. And our lived experience, when we're invited to security services by the leadership of universities, there's a clear mechanism, especially led by the police, how to coordinate our work. We thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Mohapi.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Comrade Minister, thank you very much for the response. Indeed, at Wits University, there was a man called Malcolm who allegedly claimed to be from state security agents, of which later on the spokesperson from the SSA denied any knowledge of that particular person. City Press went further to report that the students will be dealt with harshly and that there will be targeted arrest. 3, the use of the fake social network to propagate misleading information. Minister, I just want to ask, how do we ensure that coordination that you referred to is being used effectively to prevent abuse, distortions, rumor mongering, which always fuel the situations and deliberately misdirect our energies to something else? Thanks.
Honorable Minister. No, my earlier appeal to all of you that if you do a follow-up, it must be linked to the original question. Honorable Minister.
No, thank you. Chairperson, we want to thank Honorable Member Comrade Mab. On the first issue of the person referred to, the statement issued by the departmental spokesperson, the ministry spokesperson, we reaffirm that statement. Secondly, well, the issues around how people try to use the social media. Well, I'm told I don't have a Twitter account. I'm told it's a big issue outside. But the reality, as members of parliament, we are going to have an opportunity later this year to consider an important matter called cybersecurity bill and related matters. And this issue, cyberspace, which is a web information, has revolutionized the world. It has given us endless opportunities in areas of medicine, e-governance, e-education, e-health, and so forth. But there are those people in the same space that is borderless and difficult to regulate, that they are abusing the particular space. They've been able to take down governments. Issues of hacking, where elections can be influenced. The issues around the economy. You know, you don't have to put the boots on the ground chair. You can attack someone's economy sitting in one capital and cause untold suffering. Companies, as we speak today, they are losing millions and millions. But because of their brand name, they are scared to tell others that they've lost money because of hacking, phishing, swatting, and everything. Individuals, always on the gadgets, they don't want to tell their untold sufferings. A number of South Africans' children have been hoodwinked by blessers who are sexual pests. They disappear, meet people they don't know. Older people who are dealing with cases where they are spending money, paying for people they are blessing they don't know. The photoshopping that is happening, where a number of your accounts in your social media have been hacked, having other pages. From a security point of view, we had an instance when the problem started in Durban, Kwajin, that you called like this xenophobia, when it was a labor relations matter. People in Primrose, they were told through the social network, we are coming for you as foreigners. They became what we call it internal displaced persons. They left their homes and people dealt with that. Social media, go to a country called Tunis. They never went to elections. Government was taken down. Go to Egypt and so forth. We are going to actually go ahead with the legislation to regulate the cyberspace because it's used for other nefarious things. The human rights are going to be respected. We are going to respect them. But your human rights are not actually exclusive to national security. Mutually dependent, Chair. We are going to balance it. The so-called revered democracies, revered ones, where you look up to, they do regulate the space. Go to the West, go to the US, go to the UK, go to China, go to Russia, go to Ethiopia, go to everywhere. What is unique? We are calling that space, it must allow for our development. It must allow us to create friendship, do business, knowledge production. But those who use the space must be protected. But those who are irresponsible, causing harm, we must assist them not to endanger all of us. You know, if you endanger yourself, remember we're in one plane. We're in one plane. You can't behave like a terrorist and crush all of us. We'll do whatever it takes. We'll engage with South Africans and find time too to engage. But it's not unique to put a regulation on this space. It's a borderless one, very unique. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Julius.
Thank you, Deputy House Chair. You know, it is a pity at this day and age. The follow-up question of the ANC on such a question is rather on intelligence and all that.
Honorable members, Honorable Wahapi, Honorable Julius, it's protected. You are protected, Honorable Julius.
And nothing mentioned about our poor students out there. I reiterate, you are nothing like the apartheid. You are just like the apartheid government, even worse than them. You didn't even think the question is about our poor students, and you didn't even ask a follow-up question on that. But Chairperson, allow me to hold the minister accountable for real issues, our students out there, our poor students out there, because the question is about them and the intelligence in there. Now, Honorable Minister, during and after the Fees Must Fall protest, students were hijacked, threatened with death, shot in the veld, they were beaten, they were picked up in the middle of the night at various universities and at their homes, especially at Wits and UJ, just like the apartheid government did to us. Now, I want to ask you, were any members of the State Security Agency involved? If you want to know, go read and ask me.
Honorable members. No, honorable members.
I think our records are there for everyone to see. For everyone to see. Just have a look at it, please. Especially in state security. You have our files, isn't it? But I want to know whether the states, what was the scope of your work in there? With the Fees Must Fall protest. You already said that you were involved. How far were you involved in detaining these students at night?
Honorable Minister.
And beating and shooting at our students at night in the middle of the dark without no clothes
Julius,
on, like the apartheid government did.
Honorable Chair, want to say thank you.
Honorable members.
I need to give him
Honorable
a
members.
response.
No, Mohapi, you can't do that. Can you respond, Honorable Minister?
Chairperson, thank you. I think, Chair, when you gave us an opportunity to come and account, I tried to put a point that those of us who are bequeathed with the responsibility to lead, we must rise to the occasion of leadership. There are those who are amongst us who choose the easy route. One of the things that you do as a member of a legislature, you defend the rights of our people. He knows that the legislature, as an important component of the state, has given us an enabling environment. If he was exercising his responsibility too, if there's any abuses of human rights, the member has a duty not to generalize and make certain things to appear real. One, you should have gone to, if you have information, because you know sometimes we think we want to score political points, when in reality we are defeating the ends of justice. When you have information, Chairperson, the honorable member should have furnished us with details that student so-and-so at this particular time and date was picked by so-and-so. And if he has the information, Chair, that information, he must take it to the law enforcement agencies. I don't even want to discuss what was he doing in Johannesburg, what he has to do with those student issues. I don't want even to go there. And then secondly, this view of trying to equate apartheid, some of us, we never had people who were supporting apartheid in our own homes. We never had an experience to see what they were doing. The only experience you will have as youngsters in the student movement and in the youth league is to be arrested and be dealt with. And we have never been an organization that came from other organizations as a party or a movement. We originated in terms of the will of our people. And if you want to reminiscence about apartheid, like apartheid policies that are being implemented in the Western Cape, he understood it better, but that's not what we're standing for. He can make the noise, he will not divorce from the experience that if you look at the connection, certain elements, very in terms of that DNA, that thin cord, is not in the ANC. And we're always on the side of the people. He must not, the member must not try to actually have easy victories. No government, including the D8 government, has ever invested so much in education. Those young people, they know that this government has given them the possibility. And the propaganda, in as much as you can push, is not going to succeed. There is a testimony. And all of us were a testimony. Chairperson, I need your protection.
Honorable Julius.
And it's a serious insult.
Honorable
I want
Julius.
to formally complain.
Honorable Julius.
He's insulting me.
Honorable
and
Julius,
my integrity.
can you withdraw what you have said? No, can you withdraw what you have said? No, I heard you. Can you withdraw what you have said? Can you take a seat, Minister? Honorable Julius, can you withdraw what you have said? No, I'm giving you the last opportunity to withdraw what you have said.
Yeah, you're used to sending us out. It's not your parliament, it's ours. I withdraw, Chairperson, whatever I said.
Can you continue, Honorable Minister, and conclude?
Thanks, Chairperson, for your intervention. Because in politics, don't play the person. Let's discuss issues. Let the battle of ideas flourish. Let the flowers bloom. And those of us from the Organization of the People, the ANC, we respect opposition, but we're not scared to engage on issues. As I was saying here, our record over the last 22 years bears testimony that South Africa today is better than yesterday, and the future is bright, and we are going to be there.
Thank you. Honorable Faber. Honorable Faber. Honorable Faber.
Chairperson, I understand.
Honorable, on a point of order, okay. Let me take the point of order.
Thank you, House Chairperson. I take it you heard it. When Honorable Nawa just said to me, shut up, Julius.
Who's that?
Honorable Wana.
No. Honorable members, can you take your seat?
I don't know.
Can you take your seat?
I saw you looking at her and looking back, so I know you heard it.
I'm looking at the minister responding. I'm looking at the minister responding. Okay, can you take your seat so that I make a ruling? Honorable members, I'm appealing to all of you. No, can you allow me to run the House? Honorable members, I'm appealing to all of you. Refrain from anything that will compromise the decorum of the House. We are honorable members. Honorable Faber, can we have your follow-up question?
Thank you, Chairperson. I just would like to know if Honorable Gerard's got a point of order. Can I continue? Thank you, Chairperson.
You are protected, Honorable Faber. Can you continue?
I would like to know if the Minister can tell us whether there was any phone tapping and or other devices used to listen in on the workers' cell phones, on who, and who gave the permission for this?
Honorable members, I'll leave it entirely up to the minister to comment because it's an entirely new question. Honorable Minister.
Chairperson, for us to be able to account like we make ourselves available. We will also respectfully request that we don't get to be made to be answering on general issues without specifics. If there's issues around wiretapping and so forth, and this instance you have not given us details, we do it within the laws you passed. And if there's any incident where the laws you have passed, we have not respected them, the recourse mechanism that you created in the laws, let's use them. But in this instance, I'm unable to assist Honorable Faber because no details. Ngiyabonga, Sihlalo.
Thank you. Honorable members, let me take this opportunity to thank the Minister and the Deputy Minister of State Security and welcome the Deputy Minister of Home Affairs. We, Honorable Mokwele, why are you standing?
Kama ikokobetso modula still. Ke a itse gore modula still wa ntlo ye o dirile ruling ka absence ya di ministers. But my concern is that today it seems like only police and state security managed to bring their ministers, and most of the departments are bringing deputy ministers. I think it's a sign of disrespect of this house. It must be noted as such when Honorable Chair is consulting with the office of these ministries, that we are not happy in the manner in which the ministers are attending to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Honorable Mokwele, quite correctly so, the Honorable Chairperson earlier on made a ruling, and it was clear how she's going to be able to take up the issue that you are raising. Now, let's start with question number 50, asked by Honorable Faber. I'll invite you, Honorable Deputy Minister.
Good afternoon, Chairperson of the NCOP and Chairperson of the session, honorable members. Thank you very much. Just to notify honorable members that our minister is currently participating in a debate in the National Assembly, hence his absence. In regard to the question asked by the Honorable Faber, the biometric-based automated police clearance system has not yet been implemented. However, the delay cannot be laid solely at the doorstep of VFS. This initiative is a collaborative partnership and entails a technical interface between the Department of Home Affairs, the AFIS switch, as well as VFS, and its implementation has been delayed due to technical challenges experienced in the rollout of the system. There is currently the requirement that persons wanting to either extend visas or apply for visas such as the permanent residence will have to revert to having to submit their police clearances with their visa applications where required. And as such, there is no change in the visa application process as yet. When the system becomes operational, clearly there'll be a change and people will be affected. But as of now, there is no change, and persons who wish to travel out of the country may do so at any time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Honorable Faber.
Chairperson, yes, thank you, Deputy Minister. But part of my question specifically was that VFS already on their website said that as from the 1st of October, they're applying this. So I did not get an answer on that. And then my second part will be, when will foreign nationals be able to have their police clearance validated through the biometric enrollment by this VMS website, as according to VFS, it is on the 1st of October?
Honorable TM.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member and Chairperson. It is correct that the deadline that we set for ourselves was the 1st of October 2016. However, as I said, due to the technical challenges experienced, we were not able to comply with that deadline. I must just say, though, that, and I must impress, that we're not legally obliged to assist clients obtaining their police clearance certificates. We have done so for our clients' convenience. And what we did not bank on was the exceptional load of data that we would have to be dealing with. And so part of the difficulty that we experience at the moment is the capacity of our systems to absorb that amount of data. And this is a work in progress, and really honorable members would have to watch this space. We are working on a solution, and we hope that it's imminent. But there are many, many dependencies. As I say, it's not just Department of Home Affairs, it's also AFIS, as well as the VFS systems that have to interface with each other. So it's quite a complicated thing, but when it works, I think it will work very, very well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable DM. We now come to question number 39, asked by Honorable Mampuru. Honorable DM.
Thank you very much to the Honorable Mampuru for this question. The response from the department is as follows. In 2015, the total number of foreign nationals who were refused entry into our country was the amount of 56,074 people. In 2016, there were 47,180 people refused entry. Currently, the total deportation statistics from April 2016 to January 2017 is standing at 20,258. The causes of deportations include the possession of fraudulent immigration documents, lack of immigration documents, persons in contravention of their visa conditions, failed asylum seekers, rejected asylum claims, and persons who are foreign nationals who are convicted at the conclusion of their prison sentences, amongst other categories. The statistics, unfortunately, are not disaggregated on the basis of each category. So when we deport people for whatever reason, we don't actually keep our stats in an aggregated form so that we can't actually tell per category how many people we have deported. But those are the numbers that we offer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Mampuru.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Honorable DM, the second mandate of the Department of Health is to control, facilitate and regulate immigration and movement of persons through ports of entry that we understand. What mechanisms are in place in order for the department to see to us this huge amount of money that you have just told us as the House are put in place to manage and to minimize the movement of these persons?
Home Affairs. It's a slipper of the tongue. It's Home Affairs. Yes. Honorable DM.
It is true that at this time of the day, Chairperson, the tongue becomes very slippery, as we've seen from some members. But may I just respond in this way? The issue of illegal migration into our country is indeed a matter that we are seized with. But members must recall, and we'll get back to it in later questions, that actually at the border area, Home Affairs is only responsible for the facilitation of movement of persons, alongside various other departments and role players at the border. Currently, if I may just take this opportunity in just exploring this issue of fraudulent behavior a little further, one of the things that we've just received yesterday was a report compiled by our inspectorate And in fact, one of the most worrying types of fraudulent behavior is in relation to fraudulent marriages, and not necessarily fraudulent documents. And fraudulent marriages, for example, would have a huge implication in terms of the number of people who can apply for permanent residence and then evolve into getting citizenship. So just to give members an indication of 800 cases of persons who applied for permanent residence, which was pulled out by our inspectorate. And these people were applying for permanent residence on the basis that they were married to South Africans. When the inspectorate actually went out to each of these individuals and interviewed them, went to their homes and checked, they found that 82% of those individuals were actually not in legitimate marriages or bona fide marriages. They were concocted marriages. So one can understand why it is that as Home Affairs we're very worried about this kind of fraudulent behavior as opposed to things like documentation and so on. Thank you very much.
Thank you, DM. Honorable Ncita.
Chair. Thank you very much, Chair. You know, Chair, it's quite scary the number of those that got to be deported from our country. And now the question is, Chair, you'd like to know a breakdown of those people that get to be deported in terms of their own countries. And you see this issue of fraudulent documents, it dominates from which country? So I would like to know that, Chair. Thanks.
Thank you. Honorable TM.
Yeah, those stats are available. Unfortunately, I don't have them at the top of my head, but we can make those stats available to the honourable member. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Faba.
Thank you, Chairperson, for the opportunity. Chairperson, through you, I'd like to ask the Deputy Minister as well. If a department in this whole problem that we've got with the fraudulent documents, if a department would not think of introducing the so long-awaited electronic visa system, as this has also a huge effect on our tourism industry, and it can really help with employment, because as you know, with every 12 tourists, we actually get one person employed in South Africa. So through electronic visas, it will increase our tourism, but also we will actually eliminate this process of fraudulent documentation. And what is the stance of the departments on that?
Honorable TM.
We certainly are in favor of a more digitized solution and a more automated solution to our visa system at the moment, as you are well aware, Honourable Member. And certainly it is part of our plan going forward. If you study our annual reports and our strategic plans, you'll see that it's very much on the radar screen. The issue, though, that has to concern us at this stage is the issue of funding, and the bottom line is money. And we would very much be very appreciative if honourable members of this House would support a bigger budget for the Department of Home Affairs, not just in terms of improving our systems as far as immigration is concerned, but as you very well know, honourable member, we lack capacity in our inspectorates. So we do need to employ more people, and we do need to staff our inspectorate a lot better than we have. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Hatting.
Thank you, Chair. The Deputy Minister referred to fraudulent marriages, more than 600 out of 800 that were investigated. We hear about fraudulent immigration documents. I would like to know where the department is confronted with fraud, and how many instances, what percentage, roughly, I know the Deputy Minister is not ready now, does it actually lead to criminal prosecution, or is deportation the route to go? Do we actually get, are we going to see 82% of the 800 criminal cases in this country?
Honorable TM.
I I thank the honourable member for his question. It's precisely the question I had for the department when I received this report, is are these people going to be prosecuted? Or are we just simply going to deny their applications for permanent residence? And the response that I got was that, in fact, they are compiling charges against individuals. And I would imagine that it's both South Africans as well as non-South Africans, bearing in mind the kinds of things that the Minister of State Security was talking about earlier, about complicity of our own citizens in these things. We often think about it in terms of the foreign nationals, but we forget that 50% of that has to do with South Africans themselves who are willing to sell their citizenship to foreign nationals. And in my view, I think there should be more criminal prosecutions. I do think, however, that given the fact that our court processes and the criminal justice system takes a hang of a long time to find resolution in these types of cases. Unfortunately, I think my suspicion is, and as you correctly point out, I don't have the actual statistics, but my suspicion is that resort is had to deportation more than criminal charging, and I do think that we need to reverse that trend.
Thank you, Honorable DM. We now come to questions number 33, asked by Honorable Kaula. Honorable DM.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I, as usual, welcome questions by Honorable Kaula, but unfortunately I have this answer, which I'm sure he's not going to like very much. But the mandate of the Department of Home Affairs relates to the movement of people entering and departing the Republic. Movement of goods, which requires scanning and other mechanisms that he speaks about in his question, is not our mandate, but the mandate of SARS. And they will be best positioned to respond to his question in particular, given that is their mandate. However, I tried to respond as best I could to the Honorable Kaula, and I must just say that the proposed Border Management Authority will function hopefully in a much more integrated fashion, because I don't think that this is a desirable situation, that one department has to deal with the people, but another department deals with the goods that they bring into the country. I mean, it's almost laughable. And so certainly currently, and not just ourselves as Home Affairs and SARS, but various other stakeholders at the border environment execute their own mandates on the basis of what we call the cooperative model, which, as I said, we do not think is ideal. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Honorable Kaula.
Thanks, Chair. I'm disappointed, DM. But now let me talk to the Deputy Minister of a cluster of the security cluster of departments. It is alleged, DM, that a certain family at Fireplate VVIP terminal, they went into the terminal and the scanners picked something from a box that was carried by one of their security personnel. And instead of allowing the officials to check what was in the box, this person then decides to withdraw the box. And instead of boarding the plane with the box, he decides to vanish. Now, you see, it's because this is the forum where we should be asking these questions. Now, it's a threat to the security of the country. Now, would a situation like that prevail? I've never been to Fireplate. I don't know where the scanners will be located. Now, in your security cluster, when you talk about these issues, is it possible that a person will just decline to have their documents searched at the airport, especially this VVIP Fireplate terminal? Thank you.
Honorable DM.
I thank the Honourable Kaula for his follow-up question, which he says he's posing to the cluster. But the question before me says, Mr. M. Kaula, KwaZulu-Natal IFP, to ask the Minister of Home Affairs this question, and not Minister Mapisa Nqakula, who is the chairperson of the cluster. So again, unfortunately, I have to refer the Honourable Kaula to the customs people and the Department of Treasury, who would be able to, I believe, give him a response to his follow-up question, because indeed, that kind of issue pertains to their mandate, I'm afraid, Honourable Member. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, it's a very important question. The original one was to Home Affairs. The second one was to the product cluster, as Honourable Kaula correctly located it. Honourable DM, I invite you now to come to question number 59. I'm reliably informed that Honourable Chabangu will be standing in for Honourable Ngwenya. Honourable DM.
The response, thank you very much to the Honourable Member, and the response is as follows. The Department, through its Inspectorate Unit, conducts inspections of businesses to verify whether persons employed by international corporate businesses have valid visas. As part of this verification, the Inspectorate will confirm whether permits are valid by confirming their correct issuance by checking the Department's movement control system and the track and trace system. Security features are also checked and a verification interview conducted. To curb the practice of employing persons with expired visas, the Inspectorate can charge the employers criminally, as well as detain, deport, and declare those with expired visas as undesirable persons. These are the powers accruing to the Inspectorate. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Chabangu.
I can say that you are very much happy now that the Deputy Minister is here. You are smiling every time when she's answering questions. That's good.
Do we have a follow-up question?
My simple question is, Deputy Minister, what about those immigrants that have entered the country illegally and are also employed by the corporate business in South Africa? And what about those that bring illegal things to our country, e.g. drugs and human trafficking? How are you going to deal with them? Thank you very much.
Honourable DM.
Thank you very much to the Honourable Member who's taken the place of the original questioner. Let me reiterate that clearly our big challenge as a country relates to illicit entering and also the illicit flow of goods into our border space. The question is, how do we intend to deal with it? Well, firstly, tightening up our systems, some of which honourable members would know about, one of which being the electronic visa system that was spoken about in the previous question. But the most important thing for me, I think, at this stage would be two things. Firstly, the establishment very rapidly of the Border Management Agency under a single command and control. And the second would be capacitating our inspectorate. Because it's one thing to have laws in place and have systems in place, but if you don't have a police mechanism in place, likewise, you then have difficulties. So it has to stand on those 2 feet. Systems, and secondly, policing. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Honourable Hatting.
Chair, if one look at sometimes the ordeal that South Africans with workers overseas are subjected to, where they are sometimes haunted and really cannot really move and have to stick to the strict regulations of their visa. What systems are in place to keep track of people who come into the country with work permits, where they work, if they do not exceed the period, etc.?
Honorable TM.
As I said, Honourable Member, one of the problems that we have with the immigration sector of our department is that we are dealing totally with manual systems. And while we are in the midst of changing over to automated systems, we're going to have challenges that are brought about by having a manual system, very much like we did with the civics section, which was essentially all unautomated, and then when you automate those systems, you find that your efficiencies increase and your qualitative outcomes become a lot better. Accordingly, the direct answer to your question is we don't have a system, because we have a manual operating system in most of our embassies around the globe. And so for us to be able to track, even if it was to simply track people by going to visit and interview them, I would say to you at this stage we simply lack the capacity as far as the inspectorate is concerned. In other words, the warm bodies to be able to do that. But having said that, I want to assure you that within the capacity that we do have, we very regularly do go out and do what we can under the circumstances given the limited capacity.
Thank you. Honorable TM, we now come to question number 53, asked by Honorable Makwebo. Honorable TM.
Thank you very much to the Honorable Makwebo for asking this question. Yes, the Department of Home Affairs uses various systems, including the Home Affairs National Identity System, or HARNESS, the National Population Register, as well as the movement controls, the live capture system associated with the Smart ID card, and that the Smart ID card was introduced precisely to curb the incidents relating to identity theft. How we do it, of course, is improved automated systems to process applications, and importantly, we adopt a risk-based approach to both access as well as processing protocols. However, the extent to which we squeeze out identity theft is dependent on two major issues. The first is the behavior of our citizens and how well they protect their own identity, because there are certain responsibilities that fall on their shoulders. And secondly, reaching up our own capacity to ensure that we are able to universally replace the green ID book with the smart card. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Honorable Makwebo.
Thank you, Deputy Chair, and thank you, Deputy Minister. Minister, I agree with you that indeed the introduction of the Smart ID card remains the best solution to deal with the challenges that were previously experienced through the manipulation of the application process of the green barcoded ID. And therefore, it stands to reason that our national population register may be at risk, and one can argue that it has been compromised, the integrity thereof. Now, be that as it may, the question is, are there any joint operations between the Department of Home Affairs, your department, and the Ministry of Police, that is South African Police Services, where your department sits with the police side by side and analyze the National Population Register to pick up the red flags and begin to bring those people in book, that they be charged, they are arrested, they are prosecuted with the the event of those fraudulent IDs being blackmailed eventually. Thank you. Or blacklisted, rather. Thank you.
I would imagine the member would know that there are ongoing operations in Home Affairs. We have an anti-corruption unit installed within our structure. And this unit is therefore consistently looking at risks faced by the organization, but also is specifically tasked when, in fact, issues arise that give rise to suspicion of fraudulent activity. It is this unit that is then brought into operation and deals with these matters. I must just say that the issue of fraudulent identities is very much a matter that is or should be of concern to all of us. One of the national treasures, if I may call it that, and our national asset is the National Population Register, and its integrity should be all of our concern. The way it affects us is in multiple ways. If any of us who operate in a modern society and in a modern economy requires any kind of service, whether it's a government service or whether it's a private service such as a banking account, you absolutely need to have faith that your identity is the only one that exists of its nature on the National Population Register. And if everybody can appreciate how important the National Population Register is, I think we'll be developing an awareness amongst our citizenry of how valuable their citizenship actually is, so that we start reducing the number of people who would assist, certainly citizens who would assist non-citizens in acquiring our citizenship, particularly through the late registration of birth process. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. We're supposed to get to question 41. Unfortunately, Honorable Dlamini is not in the house. Oh, that was on a lighter note. I was checking whether it's awake. It's in the house. Honorable Minister, we come to Honorable Dlamini's question number 41. Honorable Deputy Minister, Honorable Mokwele.
Questions, sir. No, I did raise my hand. I did raise my hand. That's why I'm asking.
No, there won't be, all the members, there won't be any harm. I missed your hand, but I can give you that opportunity. Sorry, Honorable TM.
Okay.
Sorry, Honorable Mokwele, I missed your hands.
I'm not a sleepist. I'm here to work.
Honorable
I'm not a
Mokwele,
sleepist.
Honorable Mokwele, I'm giving you an
I can't
opportunity.
sleep. You must ask your members, not me.
Honorable Mokwele, don't address them. Ask your question.
Okay. Honorable Deputy Minister, I want to check with you, how far are you in terms of addressing the issue of one person, two people having one ID number? And like in most instances, you'll find out, Hore, I'm declared dead by the Department of Home Affairs, whereas I'm still alive. When you punch my ID number, it will reflect that I am a deceased person. So how is your department dealing with such occurrences?
Thank you. Honorable TM.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. We have a special program within the department related to dealing with what we call duplicate IDs, which essentially stems back from a time when we had homelands. And when people, when we had to integrate, I believe it was about 12, the chairperson would know better at that time. I think it was 12 different homelands into one integrated system. But I do know that substantial progress has been made. I just don't have the figures offhand, but I'm quite sure we can make those available. Insofar as people being declared dead, you would have noticed, or married for that matter, you would have noticed that in the last 3 years or so, we have not been accused of a single instance of such misrecording. And the reason for that, honorable members, is the following. As I said to you, when it comes to fraudulent transactions on the National Population Register, you have to have a South African doing something. In the case of death, it would be a South African who would come and report that a relative, usually, has passed on. And we would simply record those particulars on our National Population Register, thinking that, of course, if somebody notifies us that their father or mother has passed on, they wouldn't be lying to us. But our society has become a lot different from the society of the past. And we've now been forced to take people's biometric details. So when you come and report to us that your relative has passed on, we would take your biometric details so that at no stage can people accuse Home Affairs officials of manipulating their status. Oftentimes we find when investigating such matters, as we have had the opportunity to do in the past, you would find that there's always an insurance sum of money that some people wanted to claim, which is why they needed to come and report somebody as deceased to obtain a death certificate in order to access the life insurance or funeral benefits, etc., etc. And since we've introduced the biometric data, we find that nobody comes and complains about being declared dead or married unwittingly. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you. We now come to question 41 DM by Honorable Dlamini. Honorable DM.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and to the Honorable Dlamini. The reply is that it was initially anticipated that the Border Management Authority, which was formerly called the agency, would be established by April 2017. However, the enabling legislation for the authority is currently being processed in Parliament. And in fact, we've just come from the Portfolio Committee earlier on today, where the Portfolio Committee has passed the bill. It will now be going to the National Assembly and then in due course to the National Council of Provinces. In 2015, we finalized a feasibility study and business case for the BMA and submitted these to National Treasury for listing in terms of the Public Finance Management Act as a Schedule 3A national public entity. Feedback on this is still being awaited, as it will also inform the BMA establishment process and timeframes. And while we anticipate that the legislation will pass through Parliament this year, we are unable, unfortunately, Chair, to give a date as to when the BMA will be formally established. All of it depends on Parliament. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Dlamini.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair and Honorable DM, for the response. Yeah, we just got a message that the Portfolio Committee has finalized and the National Assembly will be dealing with it tomorrow. Then it will be coming to us. It is quite a good piece of work that we are doing, which I think it will solve a number of challenges that we have in our border post. But just to check one thing, Honorable Deputy Minister, that will be the development and maintenance of the infrastructure part of this, because that has been one of the main problems in our border post, because we'll find that even if you improve at the entry, but the border lines are down. That's where there were serious challenges. Will be the maintenance and development of infrastructure be part of the work of the Border Management Authority?
Honorable DM.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. The Honourable Member knows very well that the issue of infrastructure and equipment at the borderline is the responsibility of the Public Works Department. And we certainly envisage a different scenario when the Border Management Authority is established, in the sense that we keep using the terminology that says the Border Management Agency will be under a single command and control. And this is what we envisage, that in fact both the ports of entry as well as the borderline area becomes the responsibility of the Border Management Agency. And as part of that agency, of course, you have different components of the state being represented. And we certainly are of the view that infrastructure is very, very critical, particularly on our borderline, where in some instances we don't even have markings as to where our border is, etc. So we do envisage that incrementally that those powers and functions will be dealt with by the Border Management Authority. I do want to stress, however, that we do not, as a department, envisage that the Border Management Agency will suddenly come into effect the day the legislation passes it. We envisage a process of incremental building of this institution. And so you will find that the Border Management Agency will actually take form and shape in different phases. And while we have already started a new pyramid scheme at our border, for our border management profiles, certainly we hope to build on that core instrument, and one of which would hopefully be infrastructure as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Hatting.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. Any successful border management organization relies on some policing. With our extended borders, we are certainly challenged with a scale of a considerable scale of this enforcement. Now, the Minister has indicated that we only have from the SANDF a limited number of the battalions that we require. We have learned in the budget that even that is going to be downscaled. Defence is going to shrink. On the other hand, the police are, we've also learned that, under-equipped, under-trained, under-capacitated. Now, to manage this BMA, you need the security component. What's the solution and how is it going to be funded?
Honorable DM.
Thank you very much for that considered question. I think that is correct. However, I don't think that our resort has to be to the kind of policing that we traditionally think about. In other words, warm bodies at the border all the time kind of thing. I do think that there's going to be a huge scope for innovation, for the deployment of technology, but also engagement. You know, the one thing I keep on saying is that South Africa's never had a border management agency. They've always had a Department of Home Affairs, so it's easy to transition from an apartheid state into a democracy, and you just keep your institutions and you transform the institutions. But what we've never had is a border management agency. And this has been part of the problem, because when you don't have it, you have to start creating it from scratch. And that's not a small task, it's a huge task. But it is an historic one in the sense that now we believe is the right time for us to pay serious attention as a country to developing such a mechanism. But it must, we can't always rely on foot patrols at our borders. One of the things that we will have to look at, and we're working with the CSIR on this issue, is precisely what are the modalities available to ensure that we have eyes and ears everywhere. Drones, for example, drone technology might be employed. But also, I think we must not negate very basic principles, such as taking on board the communities that live at the border, because they are literally your eyes and ears. And if they understand their role in terms of securing our country, then I think we would have a real winning partnership. And so ours is to really explore those frontiers and try and ensure that whatever is best practice internationally, we deploy to our borders. But it's not going to be an easy task.
Thank you. Honorable Mohapi. Okay. Thanks, honorable members. Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister of Home Affairs. That concludes the business of the day. Honorable members, you are requested to remain standing until the procession has left the House. The House is adjourned.